Eric sat in his car for 20 minutes after work, staring at the dashboard in total silence. On paper, it had been a good day. He'd finished his reports on time. He'd been polite to his coworkers. But inside the car, the air felt heavy. That voice whispered, "You're just faking it. You're still not enough." His name was Eric. If you met him on the street, you might not notice anything unusual. He carried himself well. But what people didn't see was the quiet war happening inside his mind every single day. For as long as he could remember, Eric felt like he was always coming up short. Not failing, just never quite enough. Not enough for his parents, who always compared him to his older brother, the one with the athletic scholarships. Not enough for his teachers, who said he was bright, but lacked that killer instinct. Eric realized he was 32 and had spent 3 decades trying to earn a seat at a table he couldn't even see. This feeling of inadequacy is one of the quietest, most pervasive forms of suffering that so many people carry. It doesn't always show on the surface. It hides behind smiles, behind achievements, behind people who seem fine. But inside, it eats away at self-worth like slow acid. You know this feeling, don't you? That restless voice that tells you that you should be further ahead by now. Stronger, smarter, or more successful. No matter how much you achieve, the voice never goes away. It just moves the goalposts. Psychologists call this conditional self-worth. It's the idea that your value as a person depends on meeting certain conditions. The contract says, "I will allow myself to feel good only if I get this promotion. I will be worthy of love only if I look a certain way." Eric knew this contract intimately. Every compliment he received rolled off him like rain on glass. He couldn't hold the praise, but every criticism, that cut into him like a blade. Praise felt temporary and fake, while criticism felt permanent and true. But here's the part we rarely talk about. This mindset isn't just a personal flaw. This feeling has been engineered. The education system starts it early. Your worth is your report card. If you're in the top group, you're good. Then social media took that childhood ranking system and put it on steroids. Now, we don't just compare ourselves to our siblings. We see someone's curated vacation photos, and suddenly our own living room feels small and pathetic. Consumer culture then steps in to finish the job. It tells us that the reason we feel not enough is because we don't have the right car. They sell us the fix for a problem they created. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry designed to keep you in a state of lack. Because a person who feels enough is a person who stops buying things to fill a hole in their soul. Statistically, this is a crisis. Studies show that nearly 85% of people worldwide struggle with some level of low self-worth. Why is it so hard to shake? Thousands of years ago, belonging to a tribe was literally a matter of survival. To your lizard brain, being not good enough for the tribe feels like a death sentence. When your boss critiques your work, your brain doesn't just see a professional correction, it sees a threat. It's trying to protect you by pointing out every flaw, hoping that if you're perfect, you'll never be rejected. But Eric's life showed him that perfection is a trap. He would work late, skip meals, and push his body. He felt a brief spark of relief. It wasn't even joy. It was just the absence of pain for a few hours. He was already looking at the next person ahead of him. He was on a treadmill moving faster than he could run. It shows up when you rewrite an email 5 times because you're terrified of sounding unprofessional. It shows up when you stay quiet in a meeting, even though you have a great idea, because you think, "Who am I to speak up?" Eric's pain showed up in his relationships too. He struggled to be truly vulnerable. He was the fixer, the reliable one. But wearing a mask is exhausting. He realized he had been carrying a psychological backpack for 30 years. One rock was labeled "My father's expectations." Another was "The way I look." He was so tired. The feeling of never being good enough is not proof that you are broken. It's proof that you are human. Think about a newborn baby. You recognize that the baby has infinite inherent worth just because they exist. Worth is your foundation. But we've spent so much time building fancy houses on top that we've forgotten the ground is there. You are not the problem. The yardstick you are using to measure your life is the problem. We confusion worth with performance and trade the depth of life for the appearance of success. You didn't lose your worth when you failed that class or when you got divorced. Imagine how much energy you would have if you weren't spending 80% of your power trying to measure up. It triggers the same stress response as a predator in the bushes. This is why the voice is so loud. But here is the truth that changed everything. The feeling of never being good enough is not proof you are broken. You are not the problem. You are a human being living in a system that profits from your doubt. We need to find a gentler internal voice to replace the one that screams. It is possible to climb out of this cycle, one step at a time, moving toward the light. We must learn to prioritize the concept of now over the pressure of next. Your heart and mind need energy to heal, but the chase is draining your battery. Eric started to put the rocks down. He realized he didn't have to carry them anymore. You can stand in the rain of your own life and still feel worthy, even when it's cold. There is a version of you waiting behind the door of your own judgment. The inner critic is like a dark cloud, but remember, you are the sky, not the cloud. We are driving toward a destination that doesn't exist, ignoring the beauty of the road. Self-compassion is the golden feather that can outweigh the heaviest anchor. Healing is a slow bloom. You cannot rush the process of opening up. Eric began to look at himself differently, not as a project to be fixed, but a person to be known. We need a change in perspective, to see the world through a lens of enoughness. Everything radiates from your internal center. If the center is at peace, the life follows. When you reach the point of clarity, you see that the struggle was mostly based on an illusion. We can retrain the brain to move from a tangled mess of anxiety to organized clarity. You can step down from the pedestal of expectation and just be human. Sometimes we just need to sit in the quiet and look at the stars, remembering our place. Freedom is like an open window. It lets the fresh air of acceptance into a stale life. Resilience is not about being hard. It is about being flexible enough to not break. To be grounding, we must reconnect with the world around us, away from the screens. Every act of kindness toward yourself adds a little more light to your internal world. Presence is found in the small ripples of life, not in the crashing waves of achievement. You have a unique worth that belongs to you alone, regardless of the crowd. Innovation in your own life starts when you stop trying to fix what isn't broken. There is always a bridge back to yourself, no matter how far you've wandered. Every day is a fresh start, a blank canvas where your past does not define the next stroke. We must charge our emotional batteries with self-love, not just external validation. The gate to your freedom has always been unlocked. You just had to be the one to push it open. In the vastness of the universe, our failures are small, but our existence is significant. We can leave the old stories behind and start writing a new narrative today. The future is not a standard to meet, but a horizon to explore with curiosity. We are all walking toward a sense of home, even if we don't know it yet. Retraining the mind means filtering out the noise so you can hear the truth. Freedom begins with a single deep breath, the moment you allow yourself to just be. Eric learned that groundedness is found in the simple act of sitting still. We can reach for joy without feeling like we have to earn it first. Let the light of self-acceptance replenish the parts of you that have gone dry. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be the lead in your own story. Focus on what you can control, your own response to the voice in your head. True liberation happens when you realize the walls around you were never actually there. You can be clear, sharp, and confident without needing to be perfect. Every small act of self-care is a seed. With water and time, it will grow. Harmony is found when we stop fighting ourselves and start working with our nature. From a high enough perspective, you can see that the path you've walked was necessary. When you feel emotionally free, your heart can finally take flight. Trust the process of your own life. The path will appear as you walk it. When you look at your life with kindness, you'll finally like what you see looking back. Be your own lighthouse. Let your internal value guide you through the fog. Wholeness is not about adding things. It is about remembering you were never incomplete. Imagine a world where we all recognize the light in each other because we found it in ourselves. You can push the clouds of doubt away. You have the power to let the sun in. We can rewrite the script of our lives. We can choose the words we say to ourselves. Groundedness comes from noticing the small things, like a single leaf or the air on your skin. The answer you've been looking for isn't out there. It's a light that's already inside you. Flow is the state where you stop performing and start living from your core. In the field of your own life, you can be free, expansive, and at peace. Untying the knots of the past takes patience, but it can be done. Every step you take in self-acceptance leaves a golden footprint for others to follow. You can stand in your own power without the shadow of inadequacy looming over you. Healing from the pain of never being good enough is less like flipping a switch and more like tending a garden. The potential for a different life is a seed that's already planted in your heart. Real self-worth is an unbreakable foundation. It doesn't shake when the world does. A new day brings a new perspective. Hope is as consistent as the sunrise. You can take the backpack off. You can stand tall without the weight of expectations. You are enough. You always have been.